Welcome back, everyone, to Spyrothon 6. Next up, we have Tris with The Legend of Spyro, The Eternal Night, any percent Fury Frenzy. This is our one and only Legend of Spyro game of the event, so make sure to keep your eyes peeled on what's happening with this run, folks. Tris, I'm going to leave it to you, my friend, so you go and take it away. And best of luck on your run.
Thank you so much. So hey, everybody, this is The Eternal Night. Like you've never seen it before, because this is the much beloved, the ever popular Nintendo DS port of the game. Kind of went under the radar for a while, but here we are. The category I'm running is Fury Frenzy, which is basically like a New Game Plus type category. It's the fastest category for a few reasons. You'll see why when we get into it. So if you're ready on the timer. In
yep,
3,
ready.
2, 1, and let's go. So, just starting off real quick, there's not a lot to explain for a movement. We just have like a jump and a double jump, some melee attacks, and most importantly, there's a roll, like a grounded roll dodge move. And it's not so much useful for dodging, but rather for mobility, because it's the fastest way to travel on the ground. Another thing you'll see here, well, these are puzzles, but I'll explain them later. There's this move called the Fury Attack, which I'm doing just by clicking the little purple circle in the bottom right corner of the screen. You'll see it again in just a minute. And this just has different effects based on which breath power you have equipped. The implication for this, for the Fury Frenzy category, is that we can spam this infinitely, because it's like almost like a God Mode New Game Plus type thing. So the breath power that we use the most often is the lightning breath. The effect of this is that it doubles your movement speed. It's absolutely busted, and I don't know what's going on with my textures right now, but I'm looking kind of funky here. Probably just an emulation issue. Anyway, so Lightning Fury, it doubles your speed. This is even more busted than it sounds, actually, because it allows us to perform a lot of sequence breaks, as well as just moving insanely fast through all the levels. I'm doing some routing around here to collect these blue spheres. They're called spirit gems, and they're basically like experience points. They let you level up your attributes. We're going to be using them to both increase the duration of this Lightning Fury, so we don't have to activate it as often, which will just save us a little bit of time in the long run. And as well, we can upgrade our attack damage with it, which will be useful for some boss fights and combat sections later on. Okay, so I'll go over these puzzles really quick. They're pretty simple. You just have to reflect these beams of light into targets. And they become a little bit more complex as the run goes on. There are different mechanics that are introduced into those puzzles to make them more difficult, but they're really not that hard overall. Okay, so I just made one of the biggest mistakes that you actually can make in the run, and that is activating the Fury Attack when you're not on the Lightning Breath. And that just wastes a little bit of time, because you can't cancel out the Fury. You have to actually wait out the duration of it. I could explain the other effects of the Fury attacks. They're not really relevant to the run, but the Fire Breath just increases your attack damage. The Earth Fury makes you basically invincible to most damage. Of course, the Lightning Fury is busted. It doubles your movement speed. And the Ice Fury just regenerates your health. Right here, I'm just going to do a little checkpoint warp by flying over here and then voiding out in the water. Just sets me right at the end of the stage, and I can move along. The structure of this game is kind of weird, because it's basically like a stage-by-stage romp. You just get to the end of one, and then move right along to the next. Luckily, there's not a whole lot of downtime in between the stages, save for a little bit of text mashing here and there, like we have to talk to Cinder here. You can't actually mash through the text. You have to press the button rhythmically, which kind of sucks, but I mean, it's not that big a deal. This is the first of 4 of the dream stages. This is where, in normal play, you would actually unlock each breath power. But luckily, since we're on Fury Frenzy, we have them all unlocked by default. Otherwise, we actually wouldn't have this lightning breath right now. We'd have to wait until about halfway through the game before we'd unlock it. It's just another perk of New Game Plus. And this first boss fight here is fairly simple. Just have to wait for it to attack 3 times. I believe this is supposed to be Ignitus, but well, he's looking a little weird. So we're just going to stun lock it with the lightning breath now. And that is it. I'm going to pause really quick here to upgrade my attack damage. This will be useful for the next boss fight that's coming up, which is a little bit further into the game, so we don't have to worry about that just yet. I just get it out of the way now. So once again, you'll see there, chaining rolls on the ground is the fastest way to move. And it's made even faster by having Lightning Fury active. I'm gonna do a risky jump here. Ooh, it's not that risky, actually. It's kind of scary because that lily pad is on a cycle, so if you're a little bit slow getting there, then there's a chance that you just won't be able to make the jump at all, and you'll either die or you'll just have to wait for the cycle to reach its next cycle. Here's an example of a stage where we have to collect a puzzle piece in the overworld before we're able to finish the puzzle. That mechanic came up earlier on, but I just didn't have the presence of mind to explain it yet. Oh. The geometry of this game is kind of crappy. The walls they kind of jut out in places and it's really easy to get stuck. As well, at times the camera doesn't really like to play nice, like in this little platforming section here. So this is an example of what the Lightning Fury is capable of in terms of like just skipping sequences. We can just fly right over this wall here. Saves a bunch of time. And here's the second dream sequence. This one unlocks you the Earth Breath. Probably the worst breath power in the game, to be honest. Doesn't really do a lot of damage, and the Fury effect is also not really that interesting. And this boss works pretty much the exact same as the first one. We just have to stun lock it with Lightning Breath after we wait for it to finish its attack pattern. There we go. Here's a little mechanic, a little piece of movement tech I call ledge grabbing. Basically, I'm doing a melee attack in the air, and what that is a sort of dive move that sends you down to the ground really quickly. So basically, if you're up in the air, you do this melee attack and it puts you on the ground and it allows you to do more ground actions sooner. So like, for example, if you're climbing up a set of stairs, you can jump up the stairs a lot more rapidly. As well, here, I use it to get on the ground so I can start doing rolls again. Just saves a little bit of time here and there. Despite being a really clunky game overall, the movement tech is actually quite fun. There's a lot of nuance to it. This stage actually has a really good example of using Lightning Fury to skip a puzzle outright. So normally there's this gate that's blocking us that we have to collect all the puzzle pieces and solve the puzzle to unblock this gate, but we can actually just fly right over it. And this is only possible with the Lightning Fury. Oh, I'm dead. This game actually has a really bad habit of eating your double jump input in the air. Just a quirk that you have to deal with. Actually, another fun thing is that you'll notice this is a 3D, like a 3D platformer, but it's on the DS. So I'm controlling all of this with a D-pad, which is really awkward. So here you'll see we've been introduced to color splitting in the puzzles, which just adds another layer of depth. They're still not that difficult though, and you can pretty much memorize all the layouts. I'm gonna do another little checkpoint warp here by voiding out. Sends me back to this earlier platform. And we have to defeat this guy to get the last puzzle piece. Easy as that. This is coming up probably one of the most punishing stages in the game. You're climbing up this giant tree, and it's actually really easy to fall off and lose a lot of time. The camera is also really awkward and just makes it even more difficult. This part in particular, but we're good. Not to mention you have to collect puzzle pieces on the way up. Whoops. The controls on these puzzles are actually also really awkward. The pieces are like locked to a grid, but you can it's really hard to place them in the right spots. It's also like slightly off axis, which makes it just even more awkward. Here we have a really insignificant boss fight. I don't even know what this guy's name is. I think it's Scab. But anyway, he dies really fast. We just hit him with lightning breath. So this is probably the worst world in the game, the arena. It's just a lot of combat. Which means a lot of lightning breath. You probably noticed the theme by now, but the lightning breath is the only useful ability. It's absolutely busted, both in terms of combat and, well, mobility. Whoops. My L button is pretty sensitive. That's the button you use to switch breaths. And sometimes I'll accidentally switch to one that I don't mean to. The only thing that's really nice about these stages is that since you're killing a lot of enemies, you're also getting a lot of the experience points, the spirit gems. So you're able to upgrade your breath powers to Well, basically by the end of this, we'll be maxed out completely. Gonna upgrade damage again here. Now this right here is the one time you'll see Fire Breath in the run. I just use it to stun lock this enemy. That's it. Back to lightning. There is a little mini-map radar type thing on the top screen that lets you see where the enemies are, but it's not as helpful as you'd think. And the inability to move the camera around, like of your own free will, also really sucks. The only thing you have is the ability to just lock it behind you like this by pressing R. I think another enemy spawns here. Yeah. It's also nice because, I say nice, it's not. That's sarcasm. The layouts of these enemies and where they spawn is like just slightly inconvenient to the point where you have to waste a little bit of time running around to get them all. There we go. I think there's only 2 rounds left after this. So actually, you'll see me basically combining breath attacks with melee attacks. There's a little mechanic where some enemies will block your breath attacks. Like, they'll put up a defense, basically. But you can sort of drop that defense, like you can manipulate them into being vulnerable by just doing a melee attack or 2, like a melee combo. So I'll usually start out by doing a breath attack, and then get them to drop their guard, and then finish them with another breath attack. By this point, I should be able to upgrade, yeah, to the max damage. Oh, one more enemy here. Maxed out Lightning Breath is insane. You'll just see me slaughter everything now. Dead, dead, dead. And here we go. This is the Lightning Dream. So this is the point in the game where we'd normally unlock the Lightning Breath. All the way, like halfway through the game. Oh, I need this puzzle piece. Here the puzzles start becoming a little bit more complex, but once again, pretty much have all the layouts memorized. Now, if you thought the quick kills for the fire and the earth dragons were easy, Gotta get in the hole there. So basically, I'm just gonna stand here, gonna hold A, and done. So that boss and the upcoming one have invincibility, or not invincibility. They're vulnerable for a brief moment right at the start. So you can actually just start stun locking them immediately and kill them. And they don't even get a chance to attack. Gotta skip cutscenes too. So this is a pretty cool stage. It's got good music, and cool aesthetic and stuff, but this is the only instance of it. After this, we just have another boss fight, and then that's it for this world. Oops. Actually, you know what I forgot to do? I have to upgrade to the second stage of the duration. There we go. And if all goes well, that should be the last thing I have to upgrade for the run. You can upgrade the duration to its max, but I don't think it's really worth it. Just a level 2 duration lasts pretty much as long as you need it to for most stages. Oh, I actually can't have this here. It's gonna block me. And this is the final elemental dream. And this fight's exactly the same as the previous one. We just unlock it from the start by holding A, and that's it. And there we go. Coming into probably my favorite world in the game. This is, well, I class it as part of the Celestial Temple, but I guess it's just like the build-up to the Celestial Temple, which is kind of like the ultimate final world of the game. But this world's really fun. It's got a lot of cool movement, tricky sections, not a lot of puzzles except for like the last section. Just fast, fun platforming. Big glides like this that look really flashy. This stage in particular is pretty tricky because these platforms are really thin, but you have to, like, if you want to go fast, you can kind of ledge grab on them to save a little bit of time, like here. Oh. The punishment for that is if you fall off, you void out, and then you have to start the stage over again. Uh-oh. no, this is okay. This stage has a couple of good backups in case you fall down. You want to remain on this this upper section here so you can grab these 2 puzzle pieces at the end. Gonna do one last little checkpoint warp here, fly over to the spot, and then void out, and it puts us up here. Here we just have a lot of puzzles, like back to back to back. Luckily, they're all relatively simple. Oops. Save for maybe this one. I think this puzzle actually used to be a choke point for me before I had memorized the layout properly. Sometimes it's tricky to get past those enemies. They have weird hitboxes and they can block you really easily in those little cavern, or little, what would you call them? Little holes in the ground that have the puzzle pieces in them. Oops. And the last world of the game is ice themed. Very nice aesthetic going on here. So we are coming up on the end fairly soon here, but there's a little bit more to go. This is the world where I actually originally theorized the idea of using Lightning Fury to skip puzzles, because we can just fly right over this gap here if we have enough speed. Oops. This is probably the longest puzzle in the game. It's not particularly difficult, but it just takes a long time to set everything up. This here is probably the most punishing world in the entire game. It's similar to that tree level. You're just climbing up really high and it's really easy to fall down. But this stage additionally has an element of lag to it. So as you're climbing up here, you're spawning more and more of these enemies, and they don't despawn, they're always active. So if you fall down this mountain here, it'll basically spawn all the enemies in the stage, and that creates a huge amount of lag. It can almost cut your frame rate in half at times, which is just absolutely ridiculous. There's just so many enemies around here. You want to be really careful not to fall down. But we're through. Easy peasy. So this is the final regular stage, actually. And we're just going to be skipping some puzzle pieces here, as usual, before we come into the final boss. One last really big glide over this pit of death. And here we go. We have Gaul. Pretty uninteresting fight. We can deal a little bit of damage at the start. Sneak a little hit in there. Then we want to manipulate him to jump backwards so he lands in this spot. Starts doing his next attack pattern really quickly. And time will be coming up shortly, just after I start... I'll start chaining lightning breaths together, and it's about the 4th or 5th one where he dies. So, ready? And time. And that is the run. One final thing really quick here. You can mash through these credits incredibly quickly. There. So, yeah, there we go. That was Eternal Night DS. I hope you all enjoyed it. It's a pretty quirky game, but it's a really fun, really nuanced speed game.
That was one form of credit skip I have seen. Let's through the credits. It's brilliant. Awesome, Tris. That was amazing. It's brilliant to see the remake of a game from the reboot of the Spyro franchise. It was brilliant to see. You got any final words you'd like to say before we send your segment off?
I'm just thankful for having me here. Someone, what was his name? 2%, I think, invited me here. He just DM'd me on Twitter. So, but yeah, thank you all for being so welcoming and everything. It's been a blast. Had a lot of fun.
Well, it's brilliant, and hopefully we can have you back for a future Spyrothon as well. Good
we'll
to
see what
see this game here. Yeah, awesome. Brilliant. Well, thank you so much, Tris. Next up then, folks, we have It's Wallython. He is back. He's probably had a little bit of a rest from late night's 120 endeavor. Wally will be taking on Spyro. Enter the Dragonfly 100%. So hopefully we'll see you very shortly for Wally's epic ETD adventure.